This video is about, do you need to have willpower? I will explain how you possibly do not need to have willpower in your life. And I must stress that this video is for entertainment purposes only, and please always consult a medical professional. Stay tuned. Welcome to the SCG Show, the home of education entertainment, and please do me a favour, if you really enjoyed this video, smash that like button. I would really appreciate it. If you're new to my content, you may not be aware that I suffered from a serious gambling addiction for over a decade. I suffered in silence. Please never do this. No one had any idea how this addiction took control of my life. I would not say I've got an addictive personality, and how it all started remains a mystery. But the good news is I'm clean and sober, and have been so since April 2019, with no desire to ever return to gambling. I sometimes forget how liberating it is to no longer be a slave to my addiction, those demons. To the few that ask me what life is like after becoming sober, I get the following questions. How do you handle those cravings? How do you fight the urge to gamble? You must have an enormous amount of willpower. Those are all really interesting and important questions to ask anyone who was an addict and who has become sober. Why don't we first define what exactly is willpower? Willpower is control exerted to do something or restrain impulses. So therefore, regarding my addiction, did I just have control to restrain impulses and force myself never to gamble? Yes and no. But in all honesty, it was like a switch that went off in my mind that had been on for so many years subconsciously. There's a man I know who has been smoking cigarettes his entire life. He tried everything to stop. But the minute he did was when he had a health scare. He stopped and never touched a cigarette again for over 10 years. Now you could argue it was the fear of dying that instilled him to stop his addiction. But you could also argue it was the willpower to not want to die young, God forbid, from smoking. But there are more interesting elements to all of this, which I'll go into further detail. Again, please always reach out to a trained professional if you really need help. Here is why you do not need willpower. The first reason you do not need willpower to stop a bad habit is because you just need to be aware you may have a problem, or you're doing something that is genuinely not having a positive impact on your life. Most former addicts like me have always had an issue coming to terms with this. You may hear them say, I know I've got a problem. Oh, I hate that I smoke, drink. I hate my life. I hate my addiction. Yet somehow in some way, they still do it, don't they? They still engage in these toxic habits, despite them not wanting to. There was a guy I know who was very overweight, on the verge of being obese. On top of that, his cholesterol was high, he had high blood pressure, and he worked a very hard, stressful job. I hate my body and how unhealthy I look, he used to say to people, and himself. 2 minutes later, he'd be stuffing his face with cakes. Saying you have a problem and admitting you do are two separate issues. I used to say to myself and those who knew I hated gambling, casinos, etc. Yet there I was, in the casino, playing the slots and so on. I remember vividly crying in the corner over my addiction in a casino, so no one would see, only to repeat the cycle over again. Understand and accept things are not good, and you need some self-awareness, because willpower and motivation is all well and good, but rarely lasts and hardly ever implements life-changing results. I remember one day looking in the mirror and saying, SCG, you got a serious problem here. It hurt, but you know what? No pain, no gain, right? As a result of that, I had to do the necessary work to make things better. To cry and grieve the pain and suffering that I had brought upon myself and those around me with my short temper, my mood swings, my financial problems. Enough really was enough. Acceptance is a thing not many people on earth can handle, and instead they would rather go about their lives with their heads in the sand, like an ostrich. Do not be an ostrich. Try your best to accept there's something wrong. You have a serious problem. Please don't forget to hit the like button if you are enjoying this video. Next is to make a conscious and serious decision on how you're going to live your life moving forward. Decide what sort of person you're going to be now, what changes you need to make to become this person, what action needs to be taken to fulfill such a drastic change. The man who I mentioned before, who was a chain smoker and stopped after his scare, did exactly this. He decided, I'm not going to smoke. I don't want to die young. He threw all those boxes of cigarettes he had away. He decided to go for coffee breaks instead of cigarette breaks at his job. He would no longer socialize with anyone who liked to smoke. He would even say, we can hang out, but I don't want to be around smoke. A simple decision that most possibly saved his life. I did the same as this smoker. I decided it was not time to gamble again. Easier said than done, but it was the only way for me to move forward. It meant cancelling all those online accounts, casinos I signed up for, forever, banning myself from ever going to these places. It also meant goodbye to gambling friends I'd made over the years. They absolutely lambasted and criticised my stupid decision. One guy said to me, "You're never going to quit, you're always going to come back." Since quitting, I have lost my father, a relationship of 4 years. Not to mention there's been a global pandemic and I've had to be locked down like many others. And despite all that trauma and all those issues, I never gambled. And I must stress, I've had no desire to either. One of my mentors gave me a great analogy when it came to my addiction and any addiction of any kind. He too used to be a smoker and quit a long time ago with no desire to return. He said, "SCG, I used to wake up and smoke, eat lunch smoke, dinner smoke, you name it. Then I was sat in a cafe and saw people around me just drinking coffee without a care in the world. I wondered if they woke up and had no desire to smoke. They never even thought about smoking. I want to be like them, going about my life with no desire to smoke. I quit and decided to there and then." I use the same philosophy. There are billions of these people in the world who never gamble in their entire life. And I decided to be like them. So decide. Last up, education. Probably the most important thing about willpower. Look, I'm not a psychologist, but I decided to educate myself and read up more about gambling and my addiction. I realised some shocking and revealing things that triggered me along the way. Firstly, without realising it, I was conditioned by people to gamble and to continue doing so because it looked fun. Gambling's not fun. It's dangerous. It's not a hobby, nor is it a way to make money. I had people who were older than me from a young age glamorise the casino and how wonderful a place it is. I'm not necessarily blaming them, but when I turned 18, I couldn't wait to step foot into a casino and be just like these people. Secondly, you must point the finger at the media, Hollywood, etc. Gambling is once again celebrated, glamorized. For instance, James Bond in his tuxedo sits at the blackjack table living an exciting, wonderful, cool, lavish lifestyle. Sitting at a blackjack table is far from exciting and fun, but the media celebrates gambling to appear cool, a great way, very, very suave, a great way to get women, men, whatever. Lastly, what was triggering me to continue to gamble was the final piece of the puzzle. At the height of my addiction, the latter years, I was actually also going through a lot of business problems, not to mention that I was also in a very unhappy, toxic relationship. So the logical solution for me was to run to gambling, as I believed naively it would solve all my financial problems, distract me from my relationship and make me happy. Gambling only made my money problems 100 times worse, as you could possibly imagine. And as for my relationship, well, there was no saving that at all. Educate yourself as to how and why you might be doing this toxic, negative, bad habit, why you are engaging in an addiction. And I know it's easier said than done, and it sounds really simple, but the answer may be staring you clear in the face. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, here's some more content you might be interested in.